Hello, welcome back to academic writing. We are dealing with the last chapter, the unit 8. Out of the 7 topics, we have already seen 5 of them, and today we are going to see the rest of the 2. Let's see what these topics are. The 6th topic is writing blogs. Now, what is a blog and what is blogging? The word blog is short form for web blog. It is actually a website or web page, an online version of a journal. You know what is a journal? Journal is a newspaper or a periodical. Like we have got medical journals and all that, which usually the doctors publish. While it is possible to make blogs private, the general idea behind blogging is to share your thoughts with the readers, also known as visitors to your blog. Of course, we can have a private blog, but it doesn't really serve the purpose. The very idea of blogging is to make your ideas public. You want to reach out to the world. That's why we publish blogs. Now, if you are new to blogging, you may want to start with simple text entries. This might include a review of the book you just finished, commentary on the movie you saw last night, or a funny account of your 3-year-old sister's birthday party. So, when you are a beginner, a new entrant to the blogging world, it's always better to go with some light topics or simple entries, because you may not have many viewers, because you are an unknown quantity in the web or blog world. So, better to write something very simple, like your experience or a review of a book, some events that happen in your life, maybe some funny incidents. Now, because your blog may not have many readers yet, you may want to start by writing about things of interest to your friends and family. So, in the beginning, the viewers of your blog will be very few, maybe people who know you very closely, maybe like your friends or relatives. So, when you are writing something, you should see that the topic is actually interesting to your viewers or your readers. After all, other than people who stumble onto your blog by accident or through a search engine, the main visitors to your blog will be those to whom you have sent your blog address. So, there are millions of people who are writing on the blog, and you are just one of them. So, people most likely will never know you. So, unless you inform these people, send your link, nobody is going to visit or read your matter. A word of advice: keep it simple. Once you master the art of adding text content, you can play around with the buttons to discover how to add photographs, videos, music, and even links to other websites and blogs. So, there are a lot of things that we need to learn in the beginning when you are a beginner, and once you know how to go about the different functions, the buttons, keys and all that, then things will become easier for you. You will learn how to add photos, videos, music, and even share all this with other websites. Eventually, you may discover that your blog is an easy way to share photos of your friends, family, vacations, new puppy, birthday parties and the like. So gradually you will learn how to share your content like the photographs, videos and other matters that you want to publish. It is much more affordable than printing and mailing photos or videos, and you can include written commentaries. So this is an easy way, maybe cheaper way of sharing your photos, videos and all that compared to other means. There are many options for creating your blog and most are completely free. So when you are starting your blog, there are different ways of creating your blog. Some are free, of course. You don't have to pay anything. Others you will have to pay. So if you are willing to have the name of the host in your link's address, then definitely you can have a free blog. That means you are depending on another blog host. It is called host. So the address of your blog will be along with the host. For example, if you choose to create a blog on wordpress.com, then your link would be your blog, the name of your blog, and along with that wordpress.com will be there. That means it is not a free blog. It is a free blog. You are not paying for it. So definitely you have to keep that host's address there along with yours. So that is a disadvantage when you are opting for a free blog site. Some of the most popular hosts that offer free blogs include wordpress.com, blogger.com, livejournal.com, myspace.com, etc. So they are free. You can definitely depend on them. There are also sites that offer free blogging for those with similar interests, localities or professions. So there are blogs where people of the same interest, having the same interest, or people from the same locality, like maybe from the same district or state or a country, or people with similar interest like maybe music, sports, reading, writing, or philately, any interest. So those people can come together and then create a kind of blog. So there are some examples of such groups. They are blogger.com, then christianblog.com, sportsblognet.com and ning.com. So these are some of the blogs with special interest. Then of course, as we already know, there are two types of blogging. One is free, the other one is paid hosting. While most new bloggers are likely to practice using a free blog hosting service, other fee-based options are available. So when you are a beginner, it is always better to go with a free blog or hosting service. Of course, other paid ones or fee-based ones are available. Now let us see the advantages of fee-based blog. Fee-based means paid blog. You are paying for that. So first advantage is that it is simplified, especially when it comes to web address. Otherwise, you will have a kind of appendage to your website. That is, the host blog address will be there. Here you don't have that. You have your own address. The storage space, we have got unlimited space here because you are paying for it. If it is free, then of course the space will be limited. The third one is ad control. That means when you having your own blog site, you can create revenue or income from the advertisement that will come along with that. Fourth one is portability. Portability means your content can be transferred to another hosting site. In a free blog site, you will not be able to do that. You cannot transfer your content to another site, but here that facility is there. Next advantage is customization. That means how your web looks, or how your blog site looks, the appearance. So that can be controlled by you, because it is not a free one. Then there are some terms related to blog or blogging. Let's say the glossary related to blogging. Here are some of the more common blog related words and phrases you will hear. First one is RSS. Of course, it is not the Indian version of RSS. It has a different full form. It stands for really simple syndication and rich site summary. So there are two full forms for RSS. And RSS allows blog visitors to receive alerts when a favorite blog is updated. So RSS is actually giving you certain information regarding updating. When other blog sites are updated, you will be informed about that. Some new information has come there. So you can visit that site. Next word is podcast. It is actually an online radio where they offer you music and other news and all that. So these audio recordings can be listened to on a computer or downloaded onto an MP3 player. So you can listen to mostly music in a podcast. Another word I think which all of you are familiar is Flickr. It is well known for photography. When you are looking for some photos, definitely you can search Flickr. Next word is ping. It stands for Packet Internet Grouper. Again, it's a notification to a blogger that their blog is being referenced or another blog, sometimes called a trackback. Things are displayed in the comment section of a blog. So when some people refer to your blog, it will inform you that somebody has visited you or somebody has referred your matter to some other blog. Next word is dashboard. So it is actually the screen hosting a blog's controls and tools. So there is the just like we have got a screen on the desktop. That is what exactly the dashboard. It will have a lot of function keys and all that. Next word is Technorati. It's actually the leading blog search engine that indexes posts from around the blogosphere in real time. So it is actually another search engine which will actually catalog or list out all the posts from around the globe. Now search engine, I think you already know what is a search engine. It's a program such as Google used to retrieve information from indexed documents, blogs, websites and networked systems. So the most popular search engine is definitely Google. So whenever you want to get some information, definitely you use that search engine. Next word is guest book. It is an online ledger in which visitors to your blog can indicate that they have stopped by. So it is a kind of like visitors book where people who visit your blog will just make a mention of it. So you can go through that and find out how many people have visited you. Next one is SEO. It stands for Search Engine Optimization and refers to the process of improving your search engine ranking. Now, what is the meaning of search engine ranking? That means whenever you are searching through search engine, just like Google, what happens is that you find a lot of websites coming first. That means there may be some 10 to 20 pages. Now what happens is that all will not be able to come to the first page, which is definitely a disadvantage. So everybody wants to come to the first page because that is what people usually visit, because they click on the first page and find the information. They will not go to the second or third or other pages. So there is a real tough competition to reach the first page. So this SEO is actually helping us to improve our stand or our rating. Next one is page rank, a measurement of where a blog or website shows up in the search engines. So this term is related to the previous one. As I told you, when you are searching for something, definitely that information will be stored in many pages. So where you stand in that website or blog or search engine, that is the meaning of page rank, where you are on the first page, second page or third or any other page. Before you start, the opportunity. So blogging gives you a lot of opportunities. It means anyone with regular access to the internet can start a free blog and start getting the words out to the world. So there is no restrictions. If you have an access to the internet, you can also start blogging. It's as easy as that. Blogging gives like minds an opportunity to be connected with like minds around the world. So as I told you, people having the same interest will definitely come together. So if you are a writer, definitely you will search for other writers and then blog which are writing. So people with like minds can easily meet through blogging. That's an advantage. And what is the challenge? The world of blogging is very fast and very competitive. So starters are challenged to write well and understand what makes them stand out in a crowd of bloggers writing on similar topics. So you will be like a log thrown in an ocean. So this blog world itself is very immense, very huge, and you can easily get lost here. So if you want to get a place in this world, you have to be highly competitive. Whatever you write should be of standard. It has to be interesting to the people who read that. That's why it is very challenging. If you wish to use a blog to become more visible, known and influential, then you need to treat blogging as you would any marketing tool. So there is a cutthroat competition. If you want to come to the front, definitely you have to beat the rest. So a lot of marketing has to be done if you want to succeed in this field. The long-term goal. Blogging becomes a very important marketing and social networking tool. If you think of your writing career as a gradual upward trajectory, then a blog is an important part of ramping up your personal media platform. So if you think you are into serious writing, definitely you can improve your career as a writer. You can publish your writings and then people will take notice of that. And how much you promote your writing, that depends on every individual. So once you make a name and people take notice of you, definitely you can move upward, and definitely you can make a good career out of it. A writer who makes a commitment to using the blog to broadcast his ideas, messages and success in the long run will discover from personal experience how he can maximize his visibility and reach slowly and steadily over the course of a career. So once you start writing and blogging, definitely you will learn the tactics, how to survive in this rat race. So it is not an easy job, definitely. The challenge is really tough. So you learn every day, and through experience, definitely you can move ahead and make a career out of it. Then what to post? Internet is a giant copy machine. So if you are posting material on the internet, it is no longer yours, it is ours. If you have this awareness, you won't make a decision that will disappoint you later. So we know that once you post anything in the internet, it is public. It is not yours anymore, it is ours. That means anybody can copy or use the material that you are publishing. The formula to succeed in blogging. What are the steps you have to take in order to succeed in blogging? First of all, offer discussion on a variety of topics which are contemporary, catchy and written in great original style. So whenever you are writing something, you need to give topics which are contemporary, that means of the current times, something that is happening right now. That means you should be updated. You cannot think of what happened in the past and then write. You should be able to write on current issues, something that is catchy, very attractive, and also original style. You need to have, or you need to develop your own style. Then consider your audience, their likes and dislikes, and the best ways to reach them. So here you should take special care to see that whatever you write is definitely interesting to the readers, or you need to cater to the needs of your readers. That is very important. Make your blog as an ongoing dialogue with your audience and keep the conversation relevant and lively. So whatever you write, it has to be a kind of interaction between you and your readers. Keep that interaction alive so that people will come back to you to interact. Invite others into the spotlight and let them lead or join the conversation, because blogging is essentially a social tool and a networking tool. So here social networking means definitely a lot of people are involved in that. So you have to invite other people to join your discussion, and then definitely you can pick up from there. Think of your blog as a water cooler and keep your audience coming back. That means water cooler is where we go very often to drink water, which will keep you cool. So your blog has to be something like that, where people will prefer to visit, and they need to find something refreshing every time when they come to you. Now we move on to the seventh topic, which is etiquette or netiquette in writing. You know what is etiquette? Etiquette means a code of behavior or good manners. So we need to follow some code of behavior even in the net world. So etiquette is a customary code of behavior in society among members of a particular profession or a group. So wherever people live together, we need to follow certain rules of behavior. While using internet, we have to follow certain code of conduct to ensure the reputation of both personal and professional realms. So you should be very careful what you are writing and how you are writing, because your writing can give a good or bad impression about yourself. It can improve your reputation or ruin it. This correct or acceptable way of using the internet is called netiquette. So the way in which we are using the net, what are the manners we need to keep, what are the rules we need to follow. That is what is meant by netiquette. Here are some rules to follow as part of email etiquette. First of all, maintain privacy. If you are sending a message to a group of people and you need to protect the privacy of your list, you should always use BCC, which stands for blind carbon copy. So sometimes when you are writing or sending a message, we use carbon copies to people, but actually that can be seen by people. But if you don't want to make it visible, then you can use BCC. Additionally, avoid giving out email addresses to a third party. Then keep separate accounts for personal and business or professional emails. So you cannot have a single email for business or professional purpose and also your personal business, personal matters. So it's always good to have a different account, email account for business or your profession. Then check emails at least once a day and respond in a timely fashion. So sometimes we may forget to open our mails and all that. So after 1 month or so, you open the mail and you find thousands of mails pending there. So that can happen, but it's always good to check your email at least once every day. Then briefly introduce yourself. Do not assume the person receiving your email knows who you are or remembers meeting you. If you are uncertain whether the recipient recognizes your email address or name, include a simple reminder of who you are in relation to the person you are reaching out to. Sometimes when you are sending mass emails to a large number of people, it is not necessary that the person who receives that mail should know you. So it is always better to give a kind of short introduction about yourself so that the people know who you are. Be clear in your subject line. So when you are sending a mail, always try to mention the topic. Subject line should be so that people can easily understand what is the subject of your message or what is the topic. With inboxes being clogged by hundreds of emails a day, it is crucial that your subject line gets to the point. It should be reasonably simple and descriptive of what you have written about. So don't forget to give a subject line so that people can see that, and the subject line has to be short. It has to be very brief, it should not be very long, but at the same time it gives a clear idea of what is your topic. Don't email angrily. So It's a warning for all of us to be gentle and well mannered in our interaction. Emailing with bad news, firing a client or vendor, expressing anger, reprimanding someone, disparaging other people in emails are all major no-nos. So these are the things you should never do. First of all, don't send bad news to people, or firing a client. Firing here means dismissing or axing people, expressing anger. Reprimanding means to rebuke. Then disparaging means to degrade people or insult people. So these are some of the things that we should never do while mailing. Now avoid using emoticons, jargon or slang. Again, we should not use emoticons. You know what are emojis and all that. Jargon means, of course, language of a particular group or a locality. It doesn't have a universal application. Everyone need not know what those words mean. Even slangs are like that. It doesn't have a universality. So words from grown business people using shortcuts such as for you or GR8 for great in business related email is not acceptable. So try not to use this kind of short forms which are not standard. You wouldn't put a smiley face or emoticon on your business correspondence, so you shouldn't put it in an email message either. So try to avoid emoticons in your email. And your email is a reflection of you. So just like your handwriting can be a reflection of your personality, your email also reflects who or what you are. Every email you send adds to or detracts from your reputation. So people can judge you easily from the way you are writing or sending mail. If your email is scattered, disorganized and filled with mistakes, the recipient will be inclined to think of you as a scattered, careless and irresponsible person. So you should be very careful in sending your message, how you are typing it. It has to be very carefully typed without mistakes and very carefully arranged. Otherwise, people will think you are an irresponsible or careless person. With that, we have come to the end of netiquette. Now we move on to another topic, which is fax transmissions. I don't know how many have seen fax machines, because nowadays even fax has become outdated. People don't use it because we have got emails and all that. But we have to learn about fax transmission. We know it is a kind of machine which is attached to a telephone. Always remember, faxing documents is a business process. As such, keep in mind these basic guidelines. So usually people send faxes just for business purposes. That's why we need to keep certain points in mind, some basic guidelines. We move on to the first one. Always include a cover page free of any unnecessary information or artwork. Include on the cover sheet your name and contact information, the number of pages including the fax cover sheet, the intended recipient and any other pertinent information. So this cover sheet, which has to be sent along with the fax, should include the basic details about you, like your name, contact information, the number of pages you are sending, and also who you are sending it. So these are the information you should include in the cover sheet. Then after transmitting your fax, make a follow-up call to the recipient. This does not require an in-depth discussion on what the fax contained. You are simply confirming the fax was received. So after sending a fax, it's always better to follow up with a phone call, just to make sure that the person has already received the fax. Otherwise, the person can easily miss it. Use discretion when faxing sensitive or confidential information. So you should use your prudence while sending sensitive or confidential matters. If you are sending personal information, let the individual know you are sending the fax beforehand. So whenever you are sending very sensitive or personal information, better to call the person in advance and inform the person that you are sending such a message. One way to avoid this type of issue is to use an online faxing service. So there are online faxing services, you can use that also. These services send faxes directly to a personal computer. So that is an advantage, especially when you are sending personal or confidential matter. Keep a copy of fax transmissions in case they are needed to confirm that they were sent. So whenever you are sending a fax, take a copy of it and then keep it as a record. Respect the privacy of confidential faxes received. Don't share personal information with your co-workers. So if you are sending or if you are receiving a personal or confidential fax message, keep it as confidential. Don't share it with other people. If you receive a fax in error, let the sender know by giving them a call. Suppose you receive a fax by mistake, it is not meant for you, then always good to call that person and inform. Usually it is requested that you destroy any faxes received in error. So it is not good that you keep a record of such kind of mistaken faxes. You better destroy that. Now we move on to another topic, which is business card etiquette. Business card means, of course, visiting cards, which are mostly used for promoting our business. Business cards are the staple of business success. So here staple means the main food. That means if you want to improve your business, definitely you need to have business cards or visiting cards. Here are 10 basic rules to follow for the profitable and productive exchange of business cards. Let's see the basic rules. First one, never leave your home or office without your cards and have plenty of them. So whenever you are going out, see that you carry enough business cards with you. There is nothing more unprofessional than the business person who has to say, "Oh, I am sorry, I just gave out my last card," or "I am sorry, I didn't bring any with me." So it is very bad when you tell someone, "Sorry, I don't have cards," or "I forgot." That means you should have the business cards always handy with you. Next, second, keep your cards in a business card case or in something that protects them from wear and tear. A crumpled business card makes a poor first impression. So in order to keep your cards safe, keep all these cards in a case or a cover so that they will not be spoiled or damaged, because a crumpled or a damaged business card makes a poor impression about you. Third one, know where your business cards are at all times. So there should not be any confusion where you are keeping your business cards. The person who has to go through every jacket and pants pocket or every nook and cranny of a briefcase to find those business cards loses credibility immediately. That means your business cards should be always where you keep, and you should know where it is kept. You can't be always searching your pants or jacket pockets. That will give a very bad impression about yourself. Fourth one, hand them out with discretion. Those people who believe in doling them out in multiples of 12 send a message that their cards aren't worth much. So you should be very careful in how you supply your cards. Don't simply throw away your cards like that freely, because you should know your card is very valuable. So give only when it is necessary, and the number of cards you give out should be less. Don't give unnecessarily. That means the people think that your cards are not worth. Fifth, always make a comment about a card when you receive it, not the logo, the business name, or some other piece of information. This places value on the card. When somebody gives you a card, try to appreciate that. Appreciate the appearance, the logo, etc. That means we are valuing that person's card. Sixth, keep your business cards up to date. When any of your contact information changes, add the new one immediately. So when you have some changes in your business card information, like your mobile phone or address, see that you update it as soon as possible. 7. Cards should not be given to senior executives you meet unless asked for. This is another guideline. You cannot be always giving or pushing your card to your senior officers or executives. That is bad manners. Unless they ask for it, you should not give it to them. 8. Cards are given at the beginning of a meeting. Usually, if you are going for a business meeting, you try to give your cards at the beginning of the meeting itself. 9. Be discerning about when to personalize your cards by writing on them. So you should be careful about when to personalize your cards. 10. Ask for someone's card if you wish to get in touch with them. So you should not hesitate to ask visiting cards, especially if you are interested in trying to contact that person again. So these are all the information that we have about business cards, and with that we have come to the end of this unit, which dealt with letter writing, CV, memo writing, and the rest of the things that we have seen up today. So we have come to the end of this book, hopefully, and unless we have a revision coming up, this will be end of this book. So thank you. Have a great day ahead of you. Thank you.